Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that sound that our producer Rob Casper puts on first reminds you and reminds me that it's time for another What It Takes Radio, 10 minutes of clarity on a Thursday. Now, in our 10 minutes of clarity, it's just that. It's a part of our ritual. Now, you see, I know a few things about how the week works. Perhaps during the weekend we have errands to do, and of course we have things we just want to rest, relax, worship, and do the things that make the weekend the weekend. During the week, most people like you and I, we're pretty busy. And it takes a while for me to say, is it worth 10 minutes to take a cup of coffee or perhaps turn on the smartphone and listen as I'm driving to an appointment? After 10 minutes, it's kind of hard to do. And then, of course, on Wednesday, we just take that day off. We don't do What It Takes Radio on Wednesday. Now, that's what I want to talk about briefly today. As you saw the title, Billionaires Do It in the Dark. Now, some years ago, you remember there was that saying, teachers do it in front of the class, divers do it deeper, that double entendre that, thank goodness, has somewhat died out. And perhaps I'm showing my age and stage when I go back to that, but what do billionaires do in the dark? Or should I say the night before? Well, what we have discovered is that oftentimes we talk about routines, but if you're really smart, you begin to think of them more and more as rituals. Now, every animal, including the human animal, seems to do better when they have certain routines and rituals and cycles of the life and day that they pay attention to. I have a dog, Jackson, call him the Wonder Dog, a wonderful rescue dog, and boy, talk about what he wants to do. And on his walk and where he wants to go, he has it all figured out that his life works best if he can do his dog's day just about the same way every day. Well, I did a research because I just simply saw an article about those people who've been very, very successful. And I knew from my own experience, not necessarily my experience, but working with people who had been successful, that what you discover is their day, they seek to crowd out distractions, and crowd out distractions, and crowd out clutter. They do everything they can to put rituals and perhaps routines into their day. Now, many of you have been listening to the first two programs that Frank has done, my friend Frank Michaela, who's talking about the selling life. And he emphasized it again. He said, the people who reach the top. And he said, even the top 10%, 15%. And he said, we want to be in the top 3%. We'll talk about that some other time, but in the top 3%. But those who make it to the top 10 or 15%, he said, this is what I've discovered. They start the night before. You might say they do it in the dark. He said, they don't get ready for work in the morning. They get ready for the day before. They do it in the dark. They do it in the nighttime. Before they perhaps retire from the day of work, they clean up their desk and they have some thoughts about what they're going to do. And then they go home and hopefully enjoy something to eat and drink, some time with their family. They want to enjoy the relaxation that's going on in their lives. However, what they really want to do is at the end of the day, just before they go to bed to try and get their 6 to 7 to 8 hours of sleep, what they do is they get themselves ready for the day before. They think about their agenda, they think about their plans, and then when the morning hits, they are ready. Now, what I've also discovered is that many people have decided that they do breakfast the same every day. Whether it is their favorite cafe or diner, they do the same thing almost every day. That breakfast is an important part of the protein and nutrition for the day, and they find one that works for their diet, for their exercise, perhaps for their workout schedule. They also drink water before they drink coffee. They drink water before they drink coffee, and that is a part of their rituals for getting ready to do the day. And needless to say, most of these people get up early. They are morning people, and they start. As my friend Frank would say, that's what they do, and they do it well, and they do it every day, and they do it in a regular way. It really becomes more of a ritual than a routine. And then, of course, my good friend Doug, who's a man who has really grown in his business, and he would say that one of the reasons his business grew and became more and more successful is he really got into a spiritual routine of going to Mass, praying, thinking, or reading a devotional, and doing that as part of his morning routine. Now, that got me. Now, here's the segue to a book which I read quite often. It is simply called Jesus Calling. And I know many of you who are in the Christian tradition are aware of it. And what happened was that a woman who has battled all of her life with health got in the habit of every morning going out, and she simply asked the Spirit of God to speak to her. And what she found is that words kind of came to her, and she started to write these down as if God, through Christ Jesus, was talking to her. And in a recent one, she simply said this: you know what? You want to be present to the Spirit. And if something comes up in the morning, don't deal with it right away. That's our temptation. You know, it's maybe even seemingly a crisis or a disaster. She said this: let it sit for a while. Just let it be there for a while. Get your mind and heart back on the presence and the Spirit you want, and back on the agenda that you have already in mind. And then see, does that disruption, that distraction, that attraction, that opportunity, is it something you really should deal with today? Or perhaps, and at the very same time that this happened, Harvard Business Review put out the very same day that I read that, which is don't respond right away, as part of their, minute management tip of the day. When something happens, don't respond right away. Well, there we go. I just put those ideas out there for you. We prepare in the dark. We do what it takes to make a good day in the dark the night before. We take routines and we turn them into real rituals. We perhaps always know what we're going to have for breakfast, and we're prepared for that. We are prepared spiritually and emotionally as well as professionally for the day before us. And when that email hits in the morning, when that distraction hits, when that thing hits that could send us on our way, take a time out. Don't respond right away. And then simply ask in a Spirit-filled way, is this really part of my agenda for the day? Thank you. This has been 10 minutes. I hope that it has brought a little clarity into your life and something that you can use to make your day. Well, yes, indeed. And thank you, Rob Casper, for putting the program together. Thank you for listening. We are grateful that you are taking time on What It Takes Radio to begin the connection, the experimentation, the relation. We have a lot of new things that are happening, and we trust that we will be a part of your daily ritual as you begin to change your life, change your business, change your patterns of success, be more fully alive, because more and more you have the wisdom, the insight, and truth, wit, to do what it takes. All the best and blessings, and bye. Bye for now.